Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Deutsche Goldmesse is brought to you by Victoria Gold.
Yukon continues to go from strength to strength. This is Paul Harris for Kitco Mining at the Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt, Germany. Joining me today to discuss this is Ranj Pillai, the Yukon Premier. Ranj, welcome to Kitco.
Well, good to see you again.
Likewise. I'll get straight into it. You were previously mining minister of Yukon Territory. Now you're the Premier. How happy are you with the way the mining and exploration sector has developed in the territory in recent years?
Well, I think it's an exciting time. I think things are progressing very well. We're still seeing exciting things being found, and we're seeing the progression on projects, that we've seen excitement around over the last number of years. We're seeing some big players starting to move into the Yukon, whether it be B2 Gold or Hecla or investments from Teck or Rio Tinto or Mitsubishi. So Newmont, of course. So it's a good time, and I think that this global push towards critical minerals has people excited. It's something we saw the opportunity there before it became a household conversation, but now that's driving interest. Of course, we've got significant zinc, copper, tungsten, silver deposits, and all of those things are getting a lot of interest locally and globally.
I think Yukon has certainly been showing its potential over the years, and as you mentioned, there's been a couple of recently very exciting discoveries with tungsten, Snowline Gold, of course, as well.
Yes.
Are there things that have not happened as fast as you would have liked, or that you've perhaps been frustrated that haven't happened that you were expecting to happen?
No, I mean, there's been some players that have showed interest, bigger players. There was some interest from Barrick at one point, and they've kind of pulled back. There's been Teck's been looking at the Yukon for a long time, and now we're seeing renewed interest. So, look, I think you get excited, but that's part of the ebbs and flows of the industry. No, for us, I think it's, things are coming together at the right time. The government of Yukon is making significant infrastructure investments. Really, this is some of the most significant investments the Yukon government's ever made in infrastructure. We've got about $500 million in public and private dollars funds for road infrastructure. We've just finished a significant piece of road that will help support the Western Copper and Gold project, but also it has money for other areas in the Yukon that would support Victoria Gold, Banyan, and Hecla's project, but as well funds that can help Fireweed, as well as Snowline and others. So funds are in place there. Before I got on a plane to fly here, we just passed our supplementary budget for the fall this year, and there was just over $21 million of funds that are going towards port development in Skagway, Alaska. That's really important. Those are funds that are going to be able to ensure that Canadian commodities can get to Tidewater for the next 50 years. That's an important gateway for us on export. So again, something else that we're taking a leadership role on. Also, for any modern major mining company, they're really looking at what's your digital infrastructure. And so we have been working the last number of years on a fiber line. It's just under 800 kilometers long. We started a number of years ago. It's looking to be completed next year. It's about $100 million project. Really complex. It was 1,100 water crossings. We had to do directional drilling under the Mackenzie Delta. An exciting project, but something that that's almost completed. So again, our international airport in Whitehorse, we're also spending about $250 million on, and that works well underway. So a lot of different things happening.
Now, infrastructure development is key for the development of a territory and also the mining sector as well. And as you mentioned, the Carmax bypass has recently been complete. What are some of the next specific big pieces of infrastructure that you're looking to put in place?
Well, you'll see investment in roads in a number of areas. In the Mayo area, which I just touched on, which will have a positive impact towards Banyan, Victoria Gold. On the North Canal, which is more road work that will help support Fireweed. But also, I think, the one that's really exciting for us right now is something that's been very close to areas of my interest is a grid connection to British Columbia. This is really important. We have requested funds from the federal government, from Canada, and it's through their critical minerals program. They've got about 1.5 billion that they're allocating across Canada. We've are looking towards getting money for the first phase of our work with the British Columbia government on a grid connection. So this money would be used for engineering, business modeling, engagement with First Nation governments. We want to partner with First Nation governments. We want to see First Nations governments have an ownership position in this infrastructure. And we've got really strong support so far from our First Nations communities. So this is work that is key towards not just the growth of the Yukon and our communities, it's not just important for the resource sector, it's also important for Arctic security. So a big project that we're very focused on right now.
What's the potential timing on that project in, let's say best case scenario?
Yeah, we're looking, this is probably an 8 to 10 year project. So we're watching some of the bigger projects that are coming online and trying to make sure that we parallel with that work. But I mean, we're still building assets in the Yukon that power our grid. I mean, we're lucky. Our grid is runs at about 90% off hydroelectric clean energy. Our focus is to have a consistent, at least 93% clean energy in our grid. We've brought on a lot of renewable projects over the last few years. There's more coming online. So again, we'll continue to invest on the grid the way it is structured now, but also to future-proof the growth of the territory and the growth of Northern Canada. It's important for us to get access to the North American grid as well.
Now, in terms of some of the energy infrastructure, particularly the renewable energy infrastructure, the past few days have seen to the north in Nunavut, the First Nations there resist or reject a mine expansion that included the development of a wind farm because they expressed concerns about the potential impacts on caribou herds and other wildlife. Are the First Nations in Yukon Territory, do they express similar concerns?
Yeah, look, I think it's a case-by-case basis, depending on the location of where the project is. But what I can tell you is the renewable projects in the Yukon that have all been built over the last 5 years have all been built by First Nation governments. So we just saw a very significant wind project commissioned just outside of Whitehorse, but it was a partnership with the First Nation of Kwalndun First Nation. So we provided some funds to offset the capital costs. We put a mechanism in place to purchase that power, and it's actually the First Nation that led that project, built that project, and owns that project. So a bit of a different scenario as compared to Nunavut. Yukon First Nation governments have been leading the way when it comes to renewable energy projects.
That's quite an innovative development approach, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's about self-determination and economic reconciliation. And we see First Nation governments across the Yukon take leadership roles. They want to be partners when it comes to a grid connection to British Columbia. And I think, I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the mining sector over the next number of years. We see First Nation governments now really looking for key partnerships with mining companies and exploration companies. First Nation companies are playing key roles in drilling and service sector and service support. But I think as we move forward, we're going to see some really innovative partnerships, especially coming out of the Yukon.
Okay. What more can we expect to see coming out of Yukon in 2024?
Well, look, I think we're waiting to see some of these bigger projects continue to move. I think, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with increased exploration with Banyan. We're really excited about that area that has fireweeds located, whether it's the tungsten project with Macmillan Pass or their zinc project. We're waiting to hear what's going to happen with the Kutzakaya project, which is being led by BMC. Again, exciting, just met with their leadership folks last week. So, I think we're going to see more activity from majors. I think we're going to see more investment from majors. I think you're going to see more clarity about some of the bigger infrastructure projects. We're going to continue to work hand in hand with First Nations on a complete modernization of the regulatory regime, which will give us a more consistent playing field and more efficiency, which I think all regions and jurisdictions want to be able to bring to the table. And I think we're going to see increased investment. Right now, we're almost at pace with when you look at British Columbia versus the Yukon when it comes to how much money the companies in the Yukon are raising. So I want to continue to see that sort of positive indicators as we go into 2024.
And that's quite impressive, because I imagine there's a bit of a big brother, little brother thing going on there.
Yeah, I mean, for us to be neck and neck with British Columbia this far into 2023 when it comes to investment really shows the focus on the Yukon, the trust in the Yukon, and the aspirations of Yukon companies.
Well, congratulations, Premier Pillai. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Always great to see you. Thank you very much.
And this is Paul Harris for Kitco Mining at Deutsche Goldmesse in Frankfurt, Germany. And if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the Deutsche Goldmesse is brought to you by Victoria Gold.